my name is Ani Baker, and I'm a teacher turned documentary filmmaker based in Los Angeles. Our lockdown here started in March, and I completely panicked, along with most everybody that I know. And for about 2 months, I went through a lot of intense changes and sacrifices and crying. And then after about 2 months, my panic started to give way to curiosity, because I was realizing that for the first time in my life, the whole world was being impacted by the same huge events. And I got desperate to know how 2020 was showing up for other people elsewhere, and I really wanted to get that information directly. So I traveled in the only legal way that I could, by talking to people in countries all over the world about 2020. We've talked about COVID and quarantine and the Black Lives Matter movement and the emotional impact of all of it, and what we've learned so far from this year. And I have to say, talking to these people about what's going on everywhere has saved me. It's made me feel connected and informed and way less alone in a time when those feelings are really, really hard to find. And I am truly thrilled to share them with you. In episode 2, we talked to Camilla Acciai about what it's been like in Rome, where back on March 27th, they hit a peak of 900 COVID deaths in a single day. And then despite that, they started to return to normal life about 2 months later. So here's a glimpse of what 2020 has been like in Rome.
I read there are certain regions in Italy where like the cases are down to 0, and so it's safe for them to reopen. What does it look like in Rome right now? Are bars, restaurants open, closed?
Yes, they're all open.
Wow.
And actually, there were some regions in Italy that had like the worst cases and the most cases, especially in Lombardy, near Milan. That was like the red zone, the part of Italy that was affected the most. Here in Rome, the situation was mostly under control. We didn't have that many cases, and because we closed everything very early, we actually managed to control the situation, and we don't have as many cases. We didn't have as many cases.
What does testing look like there? Is testing a big part of your day-to-day in your community, or no?
I haven't been tested. Most of the people I know haven't been tested. I feel like they're doing, if they found a positive person, they go through their history, they see which people they have been in contact with, and try to test all those people now. For a long period of time when the lockdown was still happening, you could actually just call a number and ask to get tested if you thought you were infected. But right now I feel like they're just testing people around the cases they found, which are mostly in like nursery homes and or in hospitals.
Okay. So you just graduated, so your life was going to look different at this time anyway. Yeah. So do you think that lockdown has affected how you spend your free time? Is there something else you would have been doing at this time that you weren't able to?
I would probably be looking for a job, which I haven't been doing, because of course sending resume and stuff right now is pretty pointless. Although my job is mostly online, because I studied to become a translator.
Oh, got it.
People I talk to, they advise me to wait a little bit to send resume, to start job interview, because since everything was closed, it wasn't the right time. To become a teacher, you have to take this test. So I'm studying for that, because that's going to be a thing in September. And since the classes are probably going to be with way less children because of COVID, and because of the fact that they're going to reduce the hours of kids in school, they're probably going to be need for more teachers. So I'm most applying for that. I'd like to also teach English.
Yeah, that would be lovely. So when did things open back up?
We started to reopen at the beginning of May.
Okay.
At the beginning of June, everything opened up again.
Interesting, but it's still a slow crawl back into normal life. So it's still
we started opening first, hairdressers or shops, bookshops, then bars, then discos, then I think that the last thing that's going to open now is like discos right now, like at the beginning of July.
Sure. So now that things are back open, when you leave the house, are people wearing masks and social distancing, or are you guys just like, no, it's cool?
We are social distancing, especially like in public places. I'm not social distancing with my friends or anything really. We're just, because you're allowed to, go out for dinner with as many people as you want. You're allowed to hang out with people now in parks and stuff. You just have to be careful when you go out in public places like the grocery shop or shops in general, to wear a mask and to queue with a distance and stuff like that. But now the situation is a lot more, under control. I mean, we have less than 3 cases in Rome per day, so it's fine. And they're all mild cases, and there's really not anyone is being, taken to hospital recently. So
wow. What has the general vibe been, either in your house or in your city since lockdown?
At the beginning, for me personally, it felt mostly weird. I mean, I have a dog, so I had to go out at least twice a day to walk him. And honestly, seeing the street completely empty, no one was walking down the street, no cars, anything, it was really weird. It felt like the apocalypse or something.
Yeah.
So that was really frustrating. It was and scary because we didn't really know when it was going to end. It could be a month, it could be 3 months, it could be a whole year. We had no idea what the situation was. And I feel like I've been very affected by news on the internet to the point that I had to disinstall Facebook on my phone for a whole week at one point, because I was getting so frustrated with the amount of different information that I was receiving. On the same page, the same news page, you could read an article that said, summer is going to destroy the virus, the hot weather is going to kill it, we're going to be fine. And the next post was, we're all going to die. This is the worst thing that could ever happen. You're never going to see your friends again. Just get used to it and die alone, because if you just take one step outside your door, you're going to die right now. And I was like, what? Why are you posting so many different information? There was a time when literally all the news, the TV, the social media, the internet, they were all talking about just that. And there was just a huge amount of different information, and it was really hard to process that. And that was probably the most challenging thing for me, especially because my mom was, in danger. So I was really preoccupied with how to handle the situation for her to be safe. So, for example, for a long time, I didn't went grocery shopping, and she didn't either. We had a friend who was very kind and who went grocery shopping for us and delivered it to us, because I was scared to go grocery shopping, because we didn't know how effective it actually was, because up in the north was, very out of control.
Right.
So I was really scared to go out really and meet people and, being in public places, because I was scared that if I was going to be infected, my mom would too.
Yeah.
On a social point of view, this didn't really affect me that bad, especially because I had been apart from my mom for a whole month because she was in hospital and she wasn't really feeling that well. So we had a lot of time to actually recharge, to be together without her having to go to work, without me having to study or do anything. So we just had a chance to spend a lot of time together, reading, playing board games, watching movies together. So this was also actually a really good time for me to stay with my family and to spend a lot of time together and rest a little bit, because we just came from a very rough couple of months. So I feel like this was also a good experience in some way.
That's beautiful. Do you feel safe now? Like when you go to the grocery store now, do you feel scared?
Yes, I feel mostly safe, because as I was saying, people are mostly okay with following the rules. If you get your temperature checked at the entrance of each store you go to. You have a sanitizer to wash your hands. You're asked to wear a mask, and everyone is doing that. It's fine. I feel okay. My mom is going out as well now. She's going out with her friends for dinner. She's going grocery shopping. She feels safe too now, because as I was saying, the situation is a lot more under control now, especially in Rome, and there are very few cases here.
What happened here was, lockdown, 3 months, everyone's going nuts because Americans are so spoiled, and we also have the worst leader in the world, and he's making things so much worse. And then on May 25th, George Floyd was killed on camera. And there was such an energy shift here to unity and revolution and action. And what was interesting was that sort of on the backdrop of the pandemic allowed people the time and space to really do something about something that happens all the time. These horrendous crimes happen in America all the time and always have. But guess what? Nobody has a job anymore. So now we're taking it to the streets, And in May, late May and early June, I felt totally different. It was wow, this time that just felt like loss and nothingness now feels so hopeful and charged, right? So I'm curious about, first and foremost, the news about George Floyd. How did that reach you in Rome, and what was the reaction in Rome to that like?
It was something that they talked about it on the news, but mostly on social media. I feel like this took over Instagram specifically a lot with the Black Lives Matter movement, and it had a very big impact on Italy as well. From my personal point of view, I already followed a couple of Black influencers, so I got the news most from them. And this really pushed me to actually, since I had a lot of time, to get informed and to learn more about racism in general, and especially in Italy. I started following a lot of people here who are Afro-Italian or second generation immigrants, and I started to actually look at things from a new point of view. Not that I I was just informed enough. I've always considered myself anti-racist, but I feel like I discovered a whole new level of that. I feel like I took interest in many more issues that I just didn't know existed before. So that was interesting. I mean, from a personal level, I felt like it was a growing moment for me.
Tell me about the type of racism you witness in Italy.
Here in Italy, Black people are a very small minority. There's not many Black people in Italy. For example, in my school, I went to public school, and during my whole time at school, I only had a Black person in my class just once for just 1 year.
Wow.
I mean, there are Black people in Italy, but they're literally not seen, because most of them aren't in the position to be seen, because they don't get a chance to have a citizenship. They don't have a chance to, if there's not such a thing as I'm not sure what's called in English, but if you're born in Italy, you don't get a citizenship if your parents are not Italian. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is a big thing that's been, discussed during this time, and it's Black people fighting for their right to be actually recognized as Italian citizen if they were born in Italy, because most of them are, but they all have to, go through a whole bureaucratic process that's really long and frustrating to get the permission to stay here each year or every few years.
Wow.
But that's crazy, actually.
Interesting. So with the Black Lives Matter movement, the Black population in Italy is pretty low. So you probably didn't see any riots in the streets or protests in the streets?
No, there were protests, actually. In each region, we organized a specific protest to, it was more like a flash mob. we all organized a flash mob to support the Black Lives Matter movement. I agreed with the idea. I just hope that this isn't like some trend that's going to because myself too, I mean, I didn't know of a lot of racism related thing here in Italy, again, because the Black community isn't taken into consideration. There's not really Black representation in the media. There's no Black representation in fashion. I was never really confronted with many Black people in my life. I thought that actually we didn't have that many Black people here. And as this whole movement happened, I just started to think more about these things. And I mean, there are actually Black people in Italy. They're just not being seen, they're just not being heard, they're just not being represented. So this is a real issue here. They're just being totally ignored. And I found out a whole world of Black activism here in Italy that I'm so interested in right now. So I'm just trying to inform, read, watch documentaries, following people on social media who talk about anti-racism to know better about the situation also in Italy. So this is what I'm saying is that I hope it's not a trend. It's because I hope that this isn't something that we see as an USA problem only, like condemning and protesting against something that happens in the US, because that's a huge problem. But I feel like we should also confront our situation here, our problem here, because it's not even like people don't care about these issues. It's just they don't know about it because no one's talking about it. Last week I learned about this huge movement that is organized by people that are working in fields that pick up tomatoes and vegetable and fruit, which are mostly immigrants that are working underpaid with no assurance, no safety on work.
So you're saying we took to the streets, we did a flash mob, it's really started the conversation. You yourself are learning. I know people in your city are also learning, but I wonder where the change comes in. If there are no Black representatives, there are no Black leaders, I wonder if do you feel or have you read that there's a push to start getting more Black people in charge?
The only thing really I heard now was about, the head of the government having a meeting with the leader of the field workers that were protesting against their working condition, and he had an informal meeting with him. They shared ideas, and this guy who went to talk to him said that he was very supportive. He reacted very open-mindedly, and he felt like there was actually hope for a change. But that's really all I heard from our government. I was saying the guy who was in charge during the pandemic was kind of an okay person, and most of the racism that came from politics and from social media and from media in general was from this specific party in Italy who is extremely conservative and has this racist idea and propaganda, who really spoke about this kind of silliness, especially on social media, because this guy is mostly expressing his ideas in Instagram lives and Facebook lives. Is a very social person who has an impact on, again, 50-year-old white people on
there it is.
That's it, and that's how he just says anything, because of course you can't say some of that stuff on
right
TV. You can do that, of course, but you can't say anything that you want on social media. Bullies people in the comment who tell him off, or he just shares their picture and says this person was mean to me, and 100 people go there. It happened 3 months ago. There was a 17-year-old girl who met him on the train, and he was asleep on the train, and she took a picture of a selfie of her flipping him off, and this picture went viral, and he just literally posted the picture of this girl with her name, saying that this was disrespectable, he was being cyberbullied and stuff like that, and a literally shitstorm happened there. And there were his supporters who went after this girl and commented on her picture the meanest of things, and it's a really crazy guy.
I mean, I'm worried about that girl's life.
Yeah.
So it's interesting you mentioned that, because we have that divide too with Donald Trump. I mean, he says a bunch of dumb shit on TV, but the worst stuff is on social media. And I feel like I know if my parents saw what he tweeted, maybe they'd have a different understanding of him, but they'll never see it. And even if I tried to introduce them to the idea, if I was like, okay, look, this is what he's writing every day, it's so unnatural to them that they'd probably look at it and be like, he's not writing this, or something, you know? So it's interesting to hear you articulate that as well. Like, you can get away, you just have two different personas, and social media, it's just a little more, I guess, acceptable to do whatever the fuck you want on there. If you don't mind telling me, what's been like your lowest point during the pandemic? Like, what did that look like and feel like for you, that you knew you were like, this is because I'm in lockdown, this is because of quarantine, but it took you to like a darker place? Did you have any moments like that?
Yes, I did. I clearly remember like one night when we had already been in lockdown for quarantine for I think a month and a half. And there were, again, rumors on the internet, and then on TV, that things were starting to reopen, that there were going to be at least a chance to go see your friends and family, and that, people in relationship were allowed to see each other. So I was really hoping that that was going to be the case, that I was going to be allowed to go see my boyfriend. But then nothing really happened, and they spoke on TV and said that it was going to be at least another 2 weeks of lockdown, and that they were not sure that we were going to be able to let us see our friends and family anytime soon. And again, I was reading news on Facebook that were really confusing, and anyone was saying different things, and I really had a breakdown. Really, I was Skyping with my boyfriend and I was crying. I also felt guilty because I knew that my situation wasn't as bad as other people were facing. There were people that had their parents sick. There were people who had lost their job. There were people who were in very worse situation than I was. I mean, there were people who I don't know, that had like the worst relation with their parents, and they were forced to stay home with them. And I was saying, like, I'm in a good position right now because we can keep our own. My mom is getting paid. Even if she's not working, we have a great relationship, so we get along really well. I'm living in a very positive and comfortable environment. The only thing I'm allowed to go outside twice a week to walk the dog. I mean, there are people who I just simply don't have a dog, aren't allowed outside without risking getting a fine. I mean, I was feeling very privileged in that situation, so I also felt guilty for breaking down and feeling bad, because I was like, literally the only thing I can do they're keeping me from doing is seeing my boyfriend. And we've already been in a long distance relationship last year when I was in Erasmus, so I was living in another country for like 4 months, and so we already went through that. I know how to handle this situation. Why am I feeling like this? So I was feeling like I needed to vent, and it was normal for me to have some kind of breakdown, but I also feel like I wasn't allowed because I was living this whole situation from a very privileged point of view.
Right. I experienced that too, and a little, because I retired from teaching in 2016, and since then I've just been doing like any odd jobs or part-time jobs that I can. But before that, for a year, I didn't work. I cashed in my retirement. I didn't work. So I went through the same thing where this happened. I was like, I'm prepared for this. I've been home before. I don't need to have responsibilities. I know how to structure a day. And then it sort of wasn't hitting the same way. Like, I didn't feel prepared. I didn't feel good. I didn't feel free. I didn't feel like, oh, this is extra time. I just felt really bad. You have all of the bad feelings, and then you have the guilt and the shame about having the bad feelings, and it spirals, and it just like, yeah.
And I also felt like a lot of people just, went with the flow, and it was a little bit of a trend here.
Yeah.
That not many people stuck with the idea of actually getting educated and learn more, and they were just like posting black squares on Instagram for one day and then just forgot about it. But in general, I feel like it was this had an impact also on people, especially my generation.
It's funny, you've talked about the positive impact in Italy via social media a few times and like how it helps you understand your leaders a little bit better and stuff too. I think there used to be a very general consensus that social media is toxic and we got to get off of it and we're all obsessed and we're all narcissists and it's toxic. And now I feel this shift where it's like, where would we be without it? Especially with the news coverage of what's going on here in America. The stuff we see on the news is not real. And the way that we get our information is via social media. And this information that we're getting right now is crucial to understanding what's going on. And now I view social media as like possibly just the most powerful, brilliant tool that we have as a society to spread truth and to also create activism. And of course, I mean, I know that neither you or I have ever seen social media used in the way that it has been recently. Like, it's been such a big shift. It used to be about outfits and now it's about activism. So what is your overall impression at this time in your life of social media?
I feel like it's a very powerful tool that can be used to do great things and also terrible things, and it all depends really on your personal ability to select the real information from the fake information, because it's great because you're allowed to access a huge amount of information in literally no time. So it's great if you want to learn more about a topic, if you want to consult, non-official media sources, but it's also very dangerous because literally anyone can say anything and get away with it. That can be dangerous. And I see that with my mom. My mom is a very educated person. She has studied, she reads a lot of books, she changed her opinion a lot during her lifetime about topics that she wasn't educated on before. So she's a very open-minded person, but she was born in the 60s, so she has like very little knowledge of how social media actually works. And like during the pandemic, she was like reading news online and she was prone to believe anything really.
You know what it probably is, and there's a new topic and we're not educated on it, but we have to be, either because it's about to affect us or it's in the news or it's interesting, right? So we start to take in information about this topic that we have no prior awareness of, we have no prior education about. When something like that happens, COVID's a great example. It's almost like I think human nature is just to take in the most, if it seems interesting or shocking or scary, it's almost like you absorb that first and foremost. You know, it's just like you want to know everything and you want to take precaution and you want to read it all. And the things that stick are the outlandish things. You know, the thing we don't want to hear is just wear a mask, protect yourself by wearing a mask. The thing we do want to hear is, did you know it can survive for 9 days on the pavement? And we got to leave our shoes outside. Like, it's like we're drawn to that more because it's a little more entertaining, maybe?
Yeah. And
what's next for you? After this is over, what's next? What are you looking forward to?
Who knows? I mean, I just finished school. I'm in a completely new part of my life now. First of all, we're going to move because we bought a house. And I don't know, I'm going to probably look for a job. I'm thinking of doing a master at my university in audiovisual translation, which is actually it was the subject of my thesis. It's actually my favorite subject, is the field I would like to work in. And maybe I'll be a teacher, maybe I won't, maybe I'll get a job as a translator. I don't know. I feel like I just want to leave this for September, for next fall, because it's been a hard year for me, and I just want to take this time to, go on a little vacation with my boyfriend, have some time for myself, and then I'll see what's next.
I love that answer. That's so beautiful. I'm excited for you. I'm excited. It's like, you had this time with your mom. That's a beautiful silver lining. And you sort of got to like work to keep her safe, which I'm sure is an emotionally bonding experience, to have that awareness of her needs and to know that you're meeting them. I feel like probably just deepened your relationship, and you did get to finish school, which is incredible. Thank you so much for being part of it. Tell your mom hi for me, and truly please send me a picture of your new house. I want to see it. Have a good rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon.
Lovely. It was really nice to talk to you.
I'm so glad. We'll be in touch.
Sure.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.